Hey folks, working on the Alfa 166. I've had this for about a week and I'm now starting to kind of make lots of lists of upgrades and improvements, and two of them arrived earlier today. So we've got a couple of intake improvements, because we look at this air intake hose here. We've got the common issue with the Busso V6, and that this air intake hose is completely split. I've got a BMC air filter, like this is simply a drop-in replacement for the existing air filter. I've used one on the Punto before. There may be a little bit of performance improvement. There'll definitely be an improvement in induction noise, and that's the most important thing, because if it sounds louder, it means it's faster. So I'm going to get this hose off, get this air filter in, and get cracking.
Thanks to the size of the Alfa, the engine bay is massive, so access to things like the air intake and all that sort of stuff is easy. Just a couple of bolts and it's out.
There was air going to be leaking out everywhere, so yeah, it looks like it's been kind of glued on the inside, and quite a bit of an improvement on this on. And I think one of the good things about silicone is I don't think that's going to absorb as much heat or anything like that, so that should hopefully lead to sort of colder air intakes. At least it's not going to be split and, you know, fixed with electrical tape. So either way, I think it's going to be an improvement.
And then it's just a case of putting in the new silicone hose, which I think looks really, really cool. And once it's all been cleaned, I think this engine bay is going to look absolutely spectacular.
All right, so that's got the MAF sensor on it, which looks to be in decent nick. And we've got the old air filter. So this is fine. It's basically a year old, but it doesn't look too bad. I think pretty cool. I assume that just goes in here. Boom, done. So that can go there. Perfect fit as ever. Good job. And then this goes back in like that. You want to be generally gentle with the MAF, because you don't want to damage it. Now, one easy thing to do, or easy thing to forget, is to plug the MAF back in. And so if you plug carbon out in a MAF, it's going to go into kind of like a failover state, and it's going to be really hard to start, and it's going to be, fuel mixture is going to be all over the place, and it's going to sound like a bag of spanners. So always an important thing to remember to plug it in like so. Cool, that's in. So now we just need to get the Jubilee clip on here, and then plug this in, and then we're done. In we can switch this bad boy on. With the hoses installed, now it's time to take a look at this really grim engine bay. I've taken a bunch of the plastic covers off, and you can see we've got oil leaks, we've got dirt, we've got grime, we've got all this sort of stuff. So I think it's now a good opportunity just to get this not show ready, but at least just not as grim as it is. So yeah, time to get some degreasing on and see what we find.
Breaking out the shop vac to blow away any loose debris, and then it's time to put a liberal coating of degreasant. Once that's sat for a short time, you agitate it with a brush to make sure that the degreasant gets to all the nooks and crannies, and then you just wipe it away. It only takes a few minutes, but it makes such a difference. As I'm going around, I'm wiping away years of dirt and debris. It's clear that this Alfa has not had a proper clean in a long, long time, and I think it's really, really good that I'm doing this, because if any engine bay should look good, it should be a Busso V6 engine bay.
So this might be sacrilegious, but yeah, I'm just going to use some silicone spray on these. I don't know what else you dress plastic with. It comes up quite nice. I think the engine bay is generally looking a little bit better. I've done sort of the sound deadening mat as well, so it's not clean, but it's less dirty. The only thing that doesn't look, is letting it down a little bit, is this oil cap. So I think it's time, by the power of Grayskull, Jesus, that's on tight. If you look at it, it's a bit sort of bit meh. So I've treated the car to an all aluminium oil cap, so this was £60. So yeah, completely pointless, but oh, just look at that. There's the old one for comparison. So I think that just really lifts the engine bay, and it feels better than this plastic one, and it's probably not going to leak as much as this one does. So that, I think, is really, really cool. So now just need to get the badge on. So I think this is going to be a big improvement. Even if the surround is damaged, this is just going to look so much nicer. So oh, yeah, that's going to look cool. And it fits. So you've got two centering tabs and some sticky a sticky pad holding it on. There's no actual bolt. I'm surprised at how sticky this was. I assume this was held in by bolts or screws, considering how much it took to get this one off. I think you just basically had to go it with a bit of conviction. So let's get this on. And the most satisfying bit, oh, yeah, unpeeling. Beautiful. Okay, ignore the scratch bit down there, but that's better than a completely faded one. Epic. Good stuff. We've whacked on the new silicone intake hose, and we put on the BMC air filter, but has it made any difference? Is this car faster? Is it louder? Is it more fun to drive? Well, let's find out. Definitely a lot more intake noise. There's more sort of, a little bit more raw. It's still not loud, which is great, but there's definitely just that sonorous sort of V6 note, that Busso V6 that is loved the world over. Oh, it just sounds so raughty and angry. Oh, I love it. 220 Italian horses attached to a very large 4.7 meter barge. Such a cool combination. What really reminds me of is about sort of in 2006, I had an Lexus LS400, and this feels very similar to drive. Okay, yeah, slightly different platform, front wheel drive versus rear wheel drive, and V6 versus V8, but that was a wobbly jelly, and this definitely is a wobbly jelly. But I think it just adds to the charm of this car, that it's just, I don't know, it's just so silly and wobbly, and yeah, it just drives like a blancmange. And if you go into this car expecting like a proper Alfa Romeo, a driver's car, I can see why you'd be disappointed, because, you know, it just runs wide in the corners, the steering's a little bit numb, and it's just not a car that you want to drive at like 10 tenths. Hell, it's not a car you necessarily want to drive at 6 tenths. I think sort of 5 tenths, where you just proceed, you just go and you get to your destination. There's so much lean in the corners, and it's a big heavy car, so you have to work the engine quite hard to be able to get the most out of it. But it does have that Busso V6, and I'm sure there's a lot of stuff we can do with this car, coilovers, tidying up the suspension, that sort of stuff. I think that will definitely, but I don't know if it will just diminish the car. Definitely a lot of torque steer if you're giving it full beans from standstill. Definitely towards the left, and I think that sort of wishbone is a little bit, I think, no longer fit for purpose. That's probably why it's dragging it left. And I also think the alignment isn't quite right. But yeah, whacking this car on coilovers and getting like a firm, sporty ride, I just don't know if that would really fit the character of the car. Whereas this is supposed to be a cosseting executive transport. And cosseting executive transport, does it make sense for them to have coilovers? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. It definitely feels perkier through the rev range with the new, or with the repaired sort of replacement intake hose. It's definitely feeling a little bit perkier. That BMC air filter has just lifted that intake noise just a little bit, just a fraction. Just giving a little bit of a growl, a little bit of a rasp, and that really just enhances that sort of Busso V6 experience. So yeah, I'm really happy with this little car. I think it's great fun and does exactly what I needed to do. A nice, comfortable family cruiser that is quirky and fun. And there are loads of other better cars I could have got, but they wouldn't have been as characterful. And that's why you buy an Alfa Romeo. It's not because it's the best. If you want the best, get like a 5 Series. I'm sure like a 530 or a 540 E39. That would have been, you know, a great proper driver's car, proper BMW, built well, goes well, drives well, sounds okay. But that's boring. Why would you want to go for the obvious thing? Go for the underdog. Go for like the thing that no one buys. Because there's so few of these cars left. There's always going to be a BMW. It's not always guaranteed that you're going to get an Alfa Romeo. And you're certainly not going to get an executive saloon. They just don't do them. I never like the obvious choice. And it's something that's been true like way back when, even when I was growing up. It's like when the PlayStation came out, I wanted the Sega Saturn. Demonstrably the less popular, less good console. But that made it more special to me. And that's just true of all the cars I want. Every car I've had has been the sort of the quirky alternative. And that's what I just like. I love quirky alternative cars. I don't want the best of the best, the industry leading cars. It's just not what I'm interested in. So I think that's going to take us to the end of the episode. If you watched this far, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you consider liking and subscribing. And with that, I'm going to get my Busso V6 home, and I'll catch you down the road.